Hi. Hi. I don't know how to do my life. I don't like the cell phone files because they take 3 days to upload. But I like having the earbuds in because I feel like I have less of a tendency to like wander and lose track of where my face is in relationship to the microphone. But I'm doing it. So it's kind of funny. You put the tea in the body, a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of warm, beverage. I had my big cup of water, and I just, as I hydrated, my body sort of became docile and wanted to go back to bed. And I was like, no. So I had to think of like a nice way to entice myself to want to stay awake for the day. Because this is, I woke up at 5. I think it was 4:50 again. It was almost 5. Went back to sleep at 5. Woke back up at 6:50 or close to 7. And I really tried to go back to sleep again, but then I was like, no. Your body starts to hurt when you get up and out. I don't know. They say it hurts if you just sleep for 13 hours straight, but I haven't done that in so long. I don't know. Why was I talking about that? Oh yeah. And I made a cup of tea, which I've promptly lost. And then pulled some cards while the water was boiling and got my brain chewing on stuff. I wish this camera-o-matic would let you see the fish and me at the same time. And I kind of wanted to show you, as I'm talking this morning, I'm going to be looking through my book collection because I think the King of Swords from my Dreaming Way Tarot deck is in one of these. But I think I don't necessarily need you to like know the title of every book I own. Not that I'm ashamed or whatever. It just seems awful personal. I'd rather be in front of a camera naked than show you every title of the books I own. So, here we go. I have to find my tea. My brain is going back to sleep. I wanted to be next to the fish tank because as I snoop my books, I kind of want to talk about culture, and it's a fantastic word. I love all that it is, culture. And when I word vomit and do my blathering, I talk a lot about society and all of my frustrations that way. So you might think that when I talk about culture, that's what I'm talking about, specifically or exclusively. And I mean, yeah, we'll get there. But in here, when we set up an aquarium or any kind of habitat for plants, like in a garden, anything that lives, we establish a culture first. Or when that species appears, there has already been what's called culture or a culture developed. And a lot of what we're talking about there has to do with microbiota, has to do with microbacteria, microlife, microscopic life. But when we talk about culture, we're not just talking about life. Like, my brain wants to hear that word and think society, people, social, societal, sociological kind of studies. But when we're talking about an environmental habitat or a culture that's being established, we're not just talking about life as we know it, as we understand it as humans. We're talking about microscopic traces of fibers that those bacteria feed on, like the culture within our tummy, within our GI tract, is going to be similar, or like more similar to the culture found in yogurt, the same kind of environment and bacteria as yogurt on our insides. Not exactly the same. Those guys, that when we eat the yogurt, it can be helpful to the stuff that's in us, but that's closer to what's in here, because what's in here, I, as an aquarist or as a fish tank keeper, have worked pretty diligently to establish the proper culture in this tank, which is a galaxy or a universe or a biome of all these different very specific species of micro life that process and break down specific things that will kill these fish, like ammonia, toxic chemicals or compounds, like ammonia. It's not a matter of, you want to keep it below blah blah blah. Things like ammonia, what makes it toxic, what makes it a toxin, is that if found in any amount, it will kill you. It will kill the fish. It's not this like, oh yeah, there's levels of this toxic element, but it's not toxic levels. No, I need no levels in order for these fish to live. So the only way for that to happen, because they're constantly pooping and peeing, and there's plants breaking down, their little scales slough off. They have the living life forms, the ones that we can see, the fish and the snails are, and I'm pretty sure the crustacean, even our shrimp, have a bit of a, even if it's just an exoskeleton or a slime coat, the fishes will have a slime coat. All this stuff is getting sloughed off, and everything, when it breaks down, it's producing toxic things like ammonia and other things. Because there's just this constant cycle of breakdown, and there's going to be a breakdown of bacteria, these things that we can't see them, but they still have bodies, and there's a breakdown of that's going to make ammonia happen and other toxic things happen. The very specific culture of different species of bacteria, different species of I don't think I want nematodes, but like protozoan. There are these little tiny microscopic flora and fauna that work symbiotically or in conjunction with these species of bacteria and other things that break down things that I don't want. And the way that we do that is to have a source of that. When we do something called cycling a fish tank, which you have to do in order to produce that culture, what we're doing is we're just putting media and water, and we're taking the chlorine out of the water so that life can really take off and thrive, and we're just letting that water move under light and heat if we're using a heater with our habitat, and that's going to become like this petri dish of life, and you're just going to get like whatever is already in your environment that you live in, that this tank is in, that likes wet, warm, sunlit conditions, is just, they're all just gonna have fun in there, right? But there's no food really for much like we get to see like these stages of evolution on the culture level, on the level of the microscopic, on the culture in our tummy. Like I said before, that GI tract doesn't thrive on ammonia. A lot of the really beneficial bacteria in our culture, in our internal culture, are going to benefit and thrive from fibers that our body and our stomach acid and other enzymatic processes cannot break down at all. We don't touch those. They love that stuff. And if Mom's watching, I know you watched me do the infusion when, oh wait, maybe you didn't. I don't remember if you saw the waffle episode. Anyway, whoever saw the herbal infusion episode with the waffles saw me brew. It's just unadulterated, dry, herbal plant matter. So like the blackberry leaves, or if you have raspberries at home, pick your raspberry leaves, dry those as cool and as slow, but as efficiently, because we don't want mold to set in. These are picked away from the plant. They're no longer living. They will start to rot, decease, they will start to break down. That process will begin if we don't take that moisture out and preserve that material. So we've taken that dry material and we're rehydrating it, and all these processes that this plant matter has gone through to get us thus far has split off tiny particles of plant matter. And when we brew the tea, a lot of those plant particles get hydrated, they break off further, and all those tiny little bits of plant matter that didn't get caught in the other plant matter in the basket, in the tea basket as we were brewing, all of those little tiny fibers are the kind of stuff that your microbiome, your GI bugs, the good ones, and I'm not going to say like sugar-loving bugs are horrible, or that sugar-loving bugs don't love these undigestible fibers. I don't know enough about these guys to really make that kind of statement. I do know that the sort of the happiest culture inside of us is made happiest when we eat plant fiber. The struggle that I personally, in my journey and my body, have with eating a lot of undigestible plant fibers is just that it makes it so that I can't poop. I don't know like a better way to say that. It makes me constipated. I will and for some reason it seems to be in line with my hormones, and I did have a doctor confirm for me that the estrogens and the hormones do have to do with digestion, and constipation will come into play there. So but if I've had a lot of fiber, if I'm on a green smoothie kick and those hormone levels are wherever they tend to be when I'm constipated, if that all lines up at the same time, and maybe I just drink enough water and I don't drink extra water, I won't poop for weeks, and I'll have to take laxatives, and that's how I'll finally get a movement after trying all these other things and upping the hydration and increasing exercise. The bowel movement will result in a week or more after treatment. So it's when it is that bad, which it's not bad, it's not terrible, I didn't have to go to the ER, but like if it's so bad that you're not defecate, if you're not moving stool in a week's time of treatment, if it's been a couple days, I haven't gone, I know when I'm in a good place, I'm going every day, every other day. So you start on day 3, and then it's not day 8 or 9 before you have that first initial bowel movement, which is going to be very uncomfortable. So I have to introduce, and this isn't really a good example because this is just black commercial tea that went through a paper bag, which probably didn't leave us much fiber, but the herbal infusions that you make is a fantastic source of that fiber. And if your body can do plant fiber really well, I love what I think it's Michael Pollan says about how to eat. Diversity is so precious, is so important in our diet as well as elsewhere in our lives. Eat mostly plants, but just not all the same kind of plant. Not we need a variety. Even vegan people who cut out entire forms of source of nutrition, they still they're not going to get every bit vitamin or nutrient that they need in something like a brassica or like a spinach, even though it's a superfood. There are massive quantities of vitamins, of good essential vitamins in the right proportions in this food per serving, compared to other foods. That's kind of what makes a superfood. Even if you only ate spinach, sure, spinach and potatoes, you'll have protein, you'll have vitamins, you'll have carbohydrates, you'll have fiber, right? I mean, it seems pretty, it's not. You have to have a wide variety. And it's not a matter of this thinking of connecting a partial, I can't remember how they say it, but like a partial protein with another partial protein to make no. If you get a variety of these amino acids in your plant-based diet, if it's enough of a variety, you're good. You're good. But if you get all 2,000 calories a day from the same thing, you're not getting the things you need in all of the variety of different ways that you need them. So kind of like I talked about with using the nerve tonic herbs in conjunction with each other, because even though we tend to introduce ourselves to them in the same way, or they have a place in our minds where this is supposed to calm me down, this is supposed to be stimulating, I don't know, a warming herb. We have it in our minds that this is what this herb does. That's not the end of the story, honeys. Anyway, and all of their little fibers do different things for our bugs and make our bugs really happy, or maybe it makes bugs that our happy bugs compete with really happy. And then we've got like mean bad bugs. There's a bacteria that lives in these aquariums called columnaris, that's just always gonna be there. And I don't believe it's a nitrifying or a beneficial bacteria. So when you have something like columnaris break out, it's really telling you like there's an imbalance. And as I was saying before, with setting up your culture initially, in order to get those nitrifying, those beneficial bacteria that will turn the sort of ammonias and a lot of the toxic chemical compounds, will turn them into, I believe that's why they're called nitrifying. They'll turn it into a nitrate or a nitrite that I think one of those or both of them the plants can use. And I think it has to do with the gas cycle too, of like the atmosphere breaking down in the water and out of the water. The way that we sort of lure in those specific ones is by giving it that food source that they like. So if I want the happy bacteria from the teapot, or like I want the bacteria in my GI system to be happy, I feed them what they like, and then they do really well. And maybe if I eat a little less sugar, the sugar-loving bastards won't do quite so well. And then the good guys who love the tea, do you see what I'm saying? So when we have a fish tank that we're setting up our culture in, there needs to be a source of ammonia in order for those ammonia-loving, nitrifying bacteria to become dominant. And while that's happening, while that fish tank is cycling and it's finding it's luring in those bacteria, there's going to be battles. There's going to be, blooms of algae and other species of bacteria. Maybe you'll have a bloom of columnaris, Columnaris will occur, I know for me, if I'm not careful, because I overfeed like crazy. And if you're like me and you overfeed like crazy, there's only so much a nitrifying colony of bacteria can do. You still need to get in there and suck the poopy, moldy food out as it, grows hair and breaks down and gets disgusting. So, yeah, culture is not just a sociological sort of anthropological term that we use to study human behavior or fads, or like the term meme. We thought, you know, maybe a lot of people might think that that's a like this weird word that just sort of occurred with Facebook and all of these social media things. Meme is actually a term that we've been using to study culture and society and humans for as long as we've been writing stuff down and having ideas that we share. It's like a folk song. It's kind of, I'm probably wrong, but this is how jacked up my brain is. I think folk music is a really good example of a meme. It's like a thematic, big picture sort of idea or way of presenting a big idea to the masses that just kind of takes on a life form of its own. I forgot. Anyway, an example of a meme would be, sorry, I got distracted watching the He-Man Woman Hater Club, No Girls Allowed, Boy Endlers. So, when we're studying culture and we talk about memes, like the Jesus story is a meme. It's a bit of writing that's been around for, I don't think I'm wrong if I say thousands of years. And it's funny because the books that we have, that like the greater of the Christian societies say, like, this is right, the rest of them are wrong. The ones that we have, so like the ones that ended up in the New Testament and the Old Testament, by like the Bible in where I live in the States, it's a meme in that those stories, that structure, that way of talking about this Christ figure actually came out and were written down hundreds of years, I believe, after his death. And the Old Testament, I don't really know that much about the history of that, but I do know that the Jesus story that we know and beat each other with today actually was written down much later. And it's funny because it's a great example of memes and how the folk song, that's what I was talking about, the folk song sort of became, so the Jesus story in the New Testament that we know of today was written many years after his death, or like this figure's death, and a lot of writing was done on this hundreds of years later. Okay, and we can talk about that other side of this another time, but what I want to talk about is the genre of writing that was going on at the time. Not when Jesus was alive or was purported to be alive in the story, but hundreds of years later, the meme, the culture, the babble, or the way of writing that was really popular and really abundant at that time. We're still uncovering scrolls from that time, written by these authors, in the same vein. And we have Gnostic Gospels. We have supplemental texts that are not the Bible, but they're written around the same time, in the same genre, in the same culture. So culture in fish tank, culture in your yogurt, culture in your GI is different, but similar to culture in society amongst any kind of social creature, be it baboons or humans, or Endler's Live Bearers. Like, and I invite you to kind of be curious about these ideas that we have really strong held beliefs about, and it's beautiful, and it's very King of Wands. It's flashy, it's entertaining, it's titillating to have these long held sort of beliefs, and we think it's very integral. But I just challenge you to kind of question, like, where does that come from? How much of my culture comes from the memes and the ideas and the folk songs that have been sang and redone in new words, but same idea 1,000 times for thousands of years? Are they really mine, in my inner knowing of my core values, and from a place where I know I can trust me? Are those all really in line, you know? And I have to wonder, looking at the culture inside of my fish tank, it's always going through these ebbs and flows, and because I feed too much, I'm constantly taking out a couple of gallons here and there, and I'm having to think about, you know, how many days has it been since I took water out, and has the fresh water colonized with good bacteria yet? And, you know, things like that. And I invite you guys to wonder how much of what we feed our literal internal biome, how much thought goes into that, first of all, and how much does that affect the cultural outer big picture world biome that we view our reality through. So the culture of the time that a lot of the biblical writings came from, thousands of years ago, hundreds of years after the death of the thing the statement is made about, during a period when a lot was going on. This was a genre of writing. There have been beautiful speakers. There have been, you know, I admire so many tarot readers and personalities, doctors, hermeticists, and things like this on the YouTube. I so admire them, and I just can't help but wonder, you know, 2,000 years ago, when these books, when this vein of writing was the folk music of its time, and was the meme of its time, the culture of its time, the social fabric of its time. I just can't help but wonder how similar things are now. And I don't know if that's an ebb and flow thing in our culture, like in the fish tank. And I don't know if it's sad that we haven't expanded beyond a lot of the struggles within our culture. I don't know if that's sad or if that's just a natural process. But it's almost like we're coming back around to that time, to that meme, to that theme, to that echo that just keeps bouncing off the walls in our culture. It's been thousands of years. We need to confront it, guys. And for me, I'll say it again, diversity is sacred. It's a different path for everybody. But, like, I know I don't have the resources to, like, dismantle broken shit and cut it out in the big picture world arena. I don't have the power to do for the masses what they can't do. But what I can do is feed my little tiny bugs inside of my body that I can't even see properly. You know, like, I can take care of my internal culture. beautiful thing about that is all this biting back and bucking and screaming and crying and gnashing of teeth that I've been doing about money. The funny thing is, like, if it all did come crashing down tomorrow, and if everybody did just outright legitimately say, Alicia, you are what's wrong with the world and you're not allowed, you know, got voted off the island, I would be okay. I know how the earth provides for me. I am protected in that way. We all are. And to say that the phrase good morning is a curse, I've always hated that phrase because I hate going to work and I hate having that fucking expectation that, you know, I'm gonna hear that 7 times in the first 10 minutes I walk through those doors. Now don't forget who you've already said it to, even if you just fucking said it. My struggle with people going off half-cocked about that being some kind of a curse is just, you were in the same energy as me. How jacked up and offline are you with your full-on positive vibration masculine energy that to be told good morning is a curse? Like, how upset are you about expectation? How resentful are you right now of the world wanting to just interact with you? You're so jacked up on positive vibe and positive force and movement, production. Somebody saying good morning to you is a curse now? Good morning, my loves. Merry meet. Blessed may you be. I love you.